It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNRNetwork websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Look, I'm telling you, this will work. I mean, we're not perfect, but at least we're giving it a try. All we need to do is get you the wig with the blonde ponytails, and then you can get the costume like she had in the movie, and we'll have a lot of fun. I'll get the gold teeth, and we'll have lots of fun.
You want me to put this in short shorts and a shirt that says Daddy's Little Monster that barely fit her. Are you high?
Well, you do the voice well.
I might do the voice well, Mr. J, but that's really not something that I want to expose the rest of the world to.
Well, what do you want to do for Halloween then?
There's horror, and then there's that.
What do you want to do then?
Well, if you go by my body type and your body type,
maybe you better keep it to yourself.
There's always Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Or Flavio and Marita.
Or the Pillsbury Dough person. And the other Pillsbury Dough person.
What are you doing for a costume this Halloween?
Actually, I should just do what I always do every year. I'm a homicidal maniac. They look like everybody else.
That's such a cop-out. We have all kinds of interesting stuff on this Halloween show. We hope you'll be here. Right now. I'm PC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through the candy.
This is Subject Cinema. Sands in the candy?
No, sand through the candy.
Putting sand in candy? What kind of a monster are you?
Screams! Celebrating a decade of film podcasting, lasting out of B-Town, USA. You're tuned into Subject Cinema with TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
I know what I'm going to do for Halloween.
What's that, dear?
I'm going to get an light afro wig, and I'm going to get the little paint stick-on beard and mustache and grab my paint palette, and I'm going to go as Bob Ross. Make some happy little trees.
Okay. Now I have that image in my head, and I have to go slam my head in a door.
Oh, thank you.
Be right back.
Thank you so much.
No, it's not. No. It's not the image of you. No. Wait. No. It's not the image of you with the afro. It's the image of you with a paintbrush. That's horrifying.
Why?
Because giving you a paintbrush is like giving me a paint gun. It's a terrible idea because you'll just run around painting mustaches on things.
Do I look like the what was they called him, the Dippy Doodler or whatever Daffy was called in that episode of Looney Tunes?
Do you want an answer or do you want to continue with the show?
I'm not going to sit here and be insulted.
Well, I don't see.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown. I'm just kidding.
Subject Cinema number 587, day and date, October 29th, 2017.
Yep. 2 more days.
2 days before Halloween. She's spazzing out, and obviously her whole thing about what she's giving everybody for Halloween, she's practicing on me. She's handing out insults. Anyway.
At least I'm not handing out bullion cubes.
Oh, that was just priceless.
Oh, man.
Was that as a joke, or was that...
I think that person was serious. I don't know.
No, I mean as a joke, but doing it as a joke?
No. I think they were serious. This was something that got brought up to me last night on my Twitter feed, that somebody had posted a picture on Instagram, I think, of their bowl of, candy, quote, quote, that they were going to be giving out to the kids it said already for Halloween. It was this big plastic bowl full of chicken bouillon cubes.
Yeah.
I'm like, please tell me.
But what I'm saying is, never mind.
I don't know. I'm hoping that person was kidding. Because if they weren't kidding, there is not enough toilet paper. That there just isn't. Ugh.
So, it's Halloween.
It is, which is exciting.
Almost. Yeah.
It's exciting, especially exciting if you are in the New England.
It's exciting for me because it ends this week. You haven't had to live with her for the past 28 days.
Well, yes, but now you have to deal with the post-holiday letdown. So,
No, I don't. Your birthday's coming up. That doesn't last only a couple of days.
That's true. Shop early, shop often.
And I'm going to get you a huge vat of bouillon cubes just for the hell of it.
I don't think they make halibut bouillon cubes. They might if you slip somebody a fen. Oh, please make it stop. These jokes are not up to scale.
Is your name Campadonna? Will you please stop? Honestly.
Sorry.
Bad doctor. If you don't know what we're talking about, Dr. Demento.
These jokes are really floundering.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Help. Sorry.
See what I have to put up with 24/7, 365.
I love you too.
Obviously not. You're being awfully rude about my painting.
No, I'm just thinking giving you a paintbrush and a thing of paint is an invitation to chaos. Oh, no, wait, that's me.
No, actually, that's Stacy. Anyway.
No, that's panic.
As we finish up our MULTIVISIONS thing this week, we're going back to a classic story with a slightly different title on the original version, but we're also going to talk about the other versions.
Yes.
We had a great scream and shout for a director I'm not that fond of, but his movies, but I like him. And then we have a couple of other things, as always, and a review of Batman vs. Two-Face. Finally, something new to review. And a lot more. So let's get started right here. We're already running really late taping time-wise. And get started with this week's MULTIVISIONS as we travel to the tropics. None of the bird, although they didn't have it in this movie.
No, they didn't.
And a lot more as we look at the Island of Lost Souls.
You're convinced that the thing on this table isn't human?
Its cries are human.
Do you know what it is, what I began with?
No.
An animal.
Our final week on MULTIVISIONS. These are horror classics we've never touched on that have been done multiple times over the years. And we tried to look at the first version of all of them. And have had an interesting experience because we missed last week, of course, because Kim was sick.
Sorry.
This week, Island of Lost Souls from 1932, which was the first filmed version. All the other versions were known by the proper title, Island of Dr. Moreau. You want to give us a little bit of rundown on these, please?
Okay. The Island of Dr. Moreau is based on a story by the science fiction author H.G. Wells. Islands of Lost Souls was the title of the film that we saw today. The story of the Island of Dr. Moreau was first published in 1896. And it is the story of an island we're assuming somewhere in the South Pacific, where this doctor has been conducting these dreadful experiments that we'll talk about that we see in the film. The story of the island and its inhabitants and what's going on there has been adapted numerous times. This is the first talkie version from 1932, The Islands of Lost Souls, which we're going to talk about here in a second. There were 2 silent versions done, one in France in 1913 and one in Germany in 1921. 1932's The Island of Lost Souls, directed by Earl C. Kenton, is a pre-Hays Code film, so you knew they could get away with a lot more stuff than they could be, pre-Hays Code. It's the story of Edward Parker, who is a young man who was just sailing on a ship, minding his own business, and was caught up in a shipwreck. He winds up being rescued by a freighter. The freighter is taking a group of animals, all sorts of different animals, mostly wild animals, lions, tigers, hyenas, a gorilla, or a man in a gorilla suit, to an island in the South Seas that does not appear on any maps, which should obviously be a big red flag right there that something's not right. The island is owned by a doctor named Moreau. Mr. Parker is a pretty decent sort of guy, and when he gets pissed off because the ship's captain, a drunk bully, is mistreating one of the assistants, one of the people that helps keep the animals in line, a man named Maling, he strikes him and treats him very badly. Parker punches the captain and knocks him out. When the ship shows up at Dr. Moreau's island, the captain gets back at Parker by throwing him off the ship and throwing him on Dr. Moreau's boat. The shipment has also been accompanied by Dr. Moreau's assistant, a man named Montgomery, who isn't quite a doctor. He says he was a doctor once upon a time. Infer from that what you want. Parker is actually treated pretty nicely by Dr. Moreau at first. He says that he'll, let him borrow his boat and he can sail on to where he's headed, which is the island where his fiancée is, Parker's fiancée. But while he's staying on the island, Parker quickly notices that there's something about this place that is more than a little bit weird. There are a lot of natives on this island, most of whom seem to be male, and most of whom seem to be terribly misshapen. There's something very non-human about these men. They're all covered with hair, but it's not really hair, it's more like fur. A lot of them have very bestial appearances, long teeth and claws, and they just don't look right. There's just something, and there's just this general atmosphere about the place that just feels wrong. Dr. Moreau tries to get one of apparently the only woman on the island to be friendly with Parker, a woman that goes by the name Lota, she's a very pretty girl, pretty scantily dressed. Dr. Moreau plays it off that she's a native of the island, and that's why she's dressed in native clothes. And she seems like she's, I don't know what the word you'd want to use is. I don't want to say backward. That's not nice. She seems very
naive.
That would be good. Skittish.
Skittish also, yeah.
Yeah, skittish is a good word. The thing is, they do seem to get along very well, her and Parker, at first. The problem is when they start hearing the sounds of someone screaming in a room that is part of the building, the doctor's establishment that Lota calls the House of Pain. That can't be a good thing. Parker, takes a look, and what he finds is Dr. Moreau and Montgomery, I can't even.
They're performing vivisection on one of these people.
On a person. For those of you who don't know what vivisection is the act of operating on a being when that said being is not under anesthetic. The person is awake and in an enormous amount of pain. It's one of the most barbarous, most evil things that could be done to a person, or anything, to be honest with you. Parker, needless to say, is horrified and is like, we need to get off this island right now. He finds the other people on the island, though, and gets a closer look at them and realizes, this stuff is beyond just these people are a little strange looking. These people aren't people. Or at least they didn't start out life as people. When he's approached by a large group of these beings, Dr. Moreau appears, cracking a whip at them to keep them back, and orders one of these beings, a creature known as the Sayer of the Law, to repeat the law to these creatures. He says the law and they repeat it back. It's almost like a conditioned
I don't
response.
think it's so much as to keep them back as it is to get their attention.
It's to get their attention and to establish that he's
dominant.
He's
right,
dominant.
But he's not close enough to do anything with it. He's up on the hill. They're down in the pit.
Well, yeah, that's true. At the house, the doctor explains to Parker, and he's very, he doesn't really care that the guy knows what he's done. He doesn't even try and hide it. He explains that he was a doctor in London performing all these experiments and trying to work out evolution in his own way. First, he started with plants, changing the genetic makeup of plants and kickstarting their evolution. And that wasn't good enough, so once he did that, including making enormous spears of asparagus, because asparagus aren't disgusting enough, you have to make giant ones. Blech. After working on
He didn't mean to, though. He said he was quite clear that was an accident.
Yeah, asparagus are an accident anyway.
I like asparagus.
Well,
I know
that's
you
your
don't.
fault. But screwing around with plants wasn't enough for the good doctor, and he started messing around with animals. And that led to a dog running out in the street screaming, which led to the press going, what the hell is this guy doing? And from the sound of it, he barely avoided jail and or the gallows in England, fleeing England and winding up on this island, where he continued with his ghastly experiments that have involved everything from blood transfusions to plastic surgery, gland extracts, and who the hell knows what else. So it turns out what we're seeing out there and what Loda is, those aren't people that were turned into these half-animal things. Those were animals that were turned into half-people things.
People!
Loda is actually his most advanced, and he considers her a success. She started life as a panther and is now this woman-like creature that looks like a human, but, has a lot of cat-like characteristics in the way that she moves, in the way that she acts. And Moreau's idea is that, maybe he can get Parker and Loda to she's obviously attracted to him because he's the first male being she's ever seen, the male human that's been kind to her. And she finds that attractive. I find that heartbreaking. The whole thing that happens next is that he tells Parker that he intends to let him leave the next day, but when Parker and the doctor go to the boat that he says he's going to let him take to leave, the boat's been wrecked, which the doctor says, I wonder how that happened.
Oh, the natives were restless last night.
Yeah, this is actually the film where that
came from.
That
a lot of
came
things came from this
Yes,
movie.
a lot of
we'll
things
talk
did.
About that.
That's true.
Yep.
Parker winds up spending more time with Loda because, let's face it, she's the most attractive thing on this island.
She's a knockout. Can you blame him?
No, I can't blame him. And that's what Moreau is counting on, that,
Although he doesn't seem to feel sexual urges toward her, he even pushes her away after the one kiss.
Yeah.
When he realizes that she's an animal, that really kind of like...
She's an animal and I'm engaged, and this all just feels kind of icky.
Oogie.
And, also the fact that he also realizes that, actually the thing is, he doesn't realize what she is until she does kiss him. The second time. Actually, the first time she kissed him. The second time he kissed her.
Okay, right, true.
And it's all about who does what. And she as she's holding on to him, because he is taller than her, she puts her nails in his back, and it hurts him. And when he pulls her hands away, she still has the claws of a cat. I mean, granted, they're more human looking, but they are more... And he realizes, holy crap, she's not a human being. You know, she's one of them. Mm-hmm. I think he still cares for her, obviously, we see toward the end of the film, but it's not a sexual thing. It's just the fact that she's an innocent creature.
Right,
He wants to rescue her.
Right, exactly.
Any romantic feelings he had came to a screeching halt once he saw those nails.
I don't know that he actually did have any romantic feelings for her.
Well, he did kiss her back.
He did, but I think that was more for her benefit than his.
I don't know, because he kissed her and then he was all like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, you know.
Right,
kind
true,
of,
okay, fine.
You know, because men just have stupid urges and can't control themselves.
What was that? What?
Nothing.
What?
Present company excluded.
Yeah, well, it includes our listeners too?
Present company excluded because most men are not sexist jerks.
I didn't say that.
And... He's not a sexist jerk. He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
I mean, she did kiss him first, and then he kissed her back. But like I said, he felt like, oh man, I really shouldn't have done that. After that, you can totally tell. The doctor, needless to say, is pissed off that Parker's tweaked on to the fact that Loda's not quite human. And he intends to experiment on her more to try and turn her into a perfect human. Because he wanted them to do it. You know, he wanted them to actually, you know, mate and see, and just, he wanted that to happen.
He as in Moreau.
Moreau,
Please make sure you're saying that.
He wanted Parker and Loda to mate just for the scientific curiosity of seeing what kind of children they would produce. Ew. Parker winds up punching the doctor in the face, and orders him to get him off this island, like, now. The thing is, the doctor's convinced that his experiment has failed until he sees Loda crying, and he comes to the conclusion that he will burn all of the animal out of her in this place they call the House of Pain. The American consul, meanwhile, which is in Apia, which is in part of Samoa.
Oh, it is. Huh?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The American consul has been notified by Parker's fiancée Ruth that her fiancé is missing and was supposed to be on this one boat because he sent them a wire, and now he's not there. They bring in the captain and interrogate him, and he goes from being this swaggering drunk bully to being a very meek yes sir, no sir type. Mm-hmm. Like most bullies, he's a coward when he's faced with someone bigger than him.
And it was a very satisfying scene.
It was very satisfying. Yes, it was. And he does say, like, you know, we went to this island. It's not on any charts, but, you know, that's where we left the guy. And Ruth is like, well, I'm going to go get my fiancé back. You know, I want help. So she is sent out with a Captain Donahue, to go to Moreau's island because the captain of the freighter gives them the coordinates. She gets reunited with her fiancé, and it's a very nice, you know, kind of, you know, hug and kiss. Oh, I'm so glad to see you kind of a thing. Dr. Moreau plays the kind and courteous host again, and tells them our
milquetoast hero Edward there knows better than.
Oh yeah, he knows that's bullcrap.
He's just going along with it for his fiance's sake.
Yeah, because Moreau
he's not really that milquetoast. He punches a few people.
No, he's not a total bore like Harker was from.
No, he's not Harker.
Dracula.
No! Oh God, no! I can't stand it. You've got to come to London with me. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
That's my Jonathan Harker imitation. Anyway, Go ahead.
The thing is, you can tell Dr. Moreau has plans of his own because he mentions to Mr. Montgomery that he may not need Parker after all, now that he's got 2 other humans on the island, and one of them happens to be a female. Blech. Oh, it makes you want to shower. It really makes you want to shower. They wind up having to stay the night because the doctor tells them it's too dangerous to go wandering through the jungle at night, which is totally true because the jungle's full of things that the doctor made the first damn place. One of the doctor's creations, a creature called Oron, which looks like it would be what would happen if a man and an ape had a baby. This big, hairy, scary-looking, muscular dude tries to get into Ruth's room and do who knows what, because the way he's looking at her is, well, actually, we do know what, and it's nasty. We do get the feeling that this is something that the doctor put in Oron's head because he's so eager to see what would happen if one of his beast men mated with a human. I'm sorry, isn't that, I don't know, rape? I mean, aren't you encouraging sexual battery? I don't know. She wakes up, starts screaming her head off. I don't blame her. Donahue, Captain Donahue says, that's it. We're out of here. We gotta leave. And he's gonna go try and get back to his ship and get the crew and get them rescued. He tells Oran to get rid of him. Oran follows the captain and strangles him. The problem is this winds up opening up another Pandora's box because once Oran kills Captain Donahue, that awakens the beast part of him, and he realizes that he doesn't have to follow the law, that men can die by the hands of these beast men. And when he shows the dead body of the captain to the other beast men, at first they're scared, and when they throw the whole what is the law, the conditioning at them, their response to that is the law no more. And the beast men wind up revolting, climbing up the hill, and although the doctor
always revolting.
Yeah, that's mean. That wasn't nice.
I know it wasn't, but I had to do something.
The doctor tries to keep them at bay with his whip, but that doesn't work, and they storm the compound, drag the doctor to his own house of pain, and we get the feeling that they're going to do to him what he did to them.
Yep.
Actually, we don't get the feeling. We just don't see it. We hear all the screaming, but we don't see it. And for once, I'm actually like, okay, you know what, movie? This time, I really don't need to see it happening. That's fine. You just keep it right over there. Parker, Ruth, and Dr. Montgomery, or Mr. Montgomery, I should say, make it down to the water to get to the boat. As they're trying to leave, though, Parker says that they've got to go find Loda, and they've got to bring her along. Loda, who's been following them, sees that the beastman Oran is following them as well. She climbs up in a tree and waits. When Oran passes under her, she jumps down and attacks him, even though she probably knows that it's going to end in her death, but she's trying to buy Parker and the others some time. They hear her scream. They come running back. She's killed Oran, and she's mortally wounded. Parker holds her in his arms for 1 second, and she tells him to go back to the sea, and then dies. Thank you, movie. One of the only innocent characters, and you killed them. Thanks a bunch. Parker, Ruth, and Mr. Montgomery make it to the boat at tied at the beach, and start, rowing away. As we see in the background, all of the torches that the beastmen brought with them are obviously just being thrown everywhere because the island's on fire. Montgomery tells Parker and Ruth not to look, and the movie ends.
Yay! With Charles Laughton as Dr. Moreau, Richard Arlen as Edward Parker, Layla Hyams as Ruth Thomas, Bela Lugosi, poor Bela Lugosi, as the sayer of the law, Kathleen Burke as Lola the Panther Woman, Arthur Hole as Mr. Montgomery, Captain Stanley Fields as Captain Davies, Paul Hurst as Captain Donahue, Hans Stenke as Uran, is that how you pronounce it?
Uran, yeah.
Tetsu Komai as Maling, and George Irving as the American consul in Apia. This was really actually a very good film. It was well done and well acted. Never really paid much attention to Charles Laughton before this, and he was very slimy and very good in this role as Dr. Moreau.
He's so awful.
Now, this movie has obviously been one of the most influential movies of all time.
Yes.
It has inspired Devo. It has inspired House of Pain. And Blondie's title, although that song has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. And as you said, it was the first place where the natives are restless came from.
Yes, the dialogue is basically they meaning the natives are restless tonight is a line that Dr. Moreau says. So that's where the whole the natives are restless tonight thing that you always hear all the time came from. H.G. Wells actually did see this version
and didn't like it.
He felt like it was focusing too much on the horror aspects and not enough on the philosophical aspects of his novel.
Well, what philosophical aspects are there supposed to be here?
Well, I think basically it's the whole idea of that, science can, all the good things science can do, science can also do some pretty horrible stuff. And it's the whole idea that just because men can do something, that doesn't mean they should do it. I think. It's the whole thing that you get
tampering in God's domain.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but...
Well, we had to, because it was brought up here.
Yeah.
In its own way. It wasn't quite worded that way.
No, it is. In a line that Moreau says about feeling like God.
Which has been edited out of all subsequent versions after the Hays Code until recently.
Until people finally stopped, freaking out about stupid crap and put it back in. The same way that they had edited out that line, now I know what it feels like to be God in Frankenstein.
Yep.
There have been other versions done of The Island of Dr. Moreau where it's actually called The Island of Dr. Moreau. There was a version done in 1977 with Burt Lancaster as Dr. Moreau and Michael York as the lead. They changed the name here to Andrew Braddock. And Richard Basehart as the sayer of the law. Barbara Carrera played Maria, who was the Panther Woman in that version. And there was the version that people our age will probably remember a little better as being ripped apart by the version that came out in 1996 with Marlon Brando as Dr. Moreau. And
Val Kilmer as the male lead
hero. Yeah. Well, actually, Val Kilmer plays Dr. Montgomery.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the person that's the main hero in this in that one is a character named Edward Douglas, who was actually played by David Thewlis.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that fit perfectly? A few years later,
yes, it would.
When David Thewlis later became a werewolf for the Harry Potter series.
Yeah. Or an unreasonable facsimile.
Very unreasonable facsimile. I was
Chihuahua and stills.
I enjoyed this. It was different. And
it was different.
I mostly enjoyed it for Laughton's performance. I've never really seen him in anything in a major way, and I've always read that he was a very friendly and gregarious person outside of his roles, and also that he was one of the best directors an actor could ever ask for, even though he only directed one film. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, that's really something.
It is really something. A lot of films that are, classic films. Let's be honest. We've looked at a lot of classic films and we've been like, this is scary. People freaked out over this or whatever.
Well, I didn't find this particularly scary.
I was going to say, with this film, I can understand why people were a little bit like...
Unnerved, yes. It didn't really scare me, though. I mean, it doesn't have, like, Night of the Living Dead scares, and it doesn't have even, like, Dracula scares.
Well, I think, there's more than a few scenes that are incredibly disturbing.
Well, they are.
Especially when you have close-ups of the beast men coming right at the camera. I could see why back in, in the 30s, that would have freaked people the hell out.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta say this up front, too. This was just 2 years, actually less than 2 years after the release of Dracula. Mm-hmm. Bela Lugosi is reduced here to playing one tiny part. Got $800 for it.
Yep.
The lowest pay of anyone in the cast. and yet he got fourth billing.
Yeah.
And it was because he was currently dealing with bankruptcy, and that's why he took the role.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because you don't see him. You know his voice, you know his eyes. But he's mostly under all that makeup.
I
He's the
don't know
sayer
if
of the
I'd
law.
call it a small part. It's not. It's,
all he does is do the law bit, and then at the end,
but the
he's
sayer of the law is an important character.
It is, but it's a small part. You only see him one time until the very end of the film.
Well, all right, okay.
So
no, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, but personally,
I know there are no small parts, just small actors. I know.
Well,
I'm just kidding about that, but I mean, it's just like
that actually wasn't where I was going.
No, I was. So I figured I'd say it before I get any flack from any of our regulars about it.
I was going to say, I think the special effects in this, the makeup
jobs were incredible for 1932.
Really, I was like,
yeah.
Whoa! It was really, really, really well done. And I really want to give a real big shout out to Kathleen Burke, who played Loda.
And she had never acted before.
No,
right?
That was her first acting job. And I really want to bring attention to her because she had a real cat's quality about her to the way she moved. Mm-hmm. It didn't come off as like a parody of a cat.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, there's one specific scene where she's trying to get the hero to pay attention to her. And she's sitting on the ground, he's sitting above her with a book, and he's saying something about how maybe the book will help him get off the island. She looks at the book with absolute murder in her eyes, and then grabs the book and chucks it in a fountain. And I'm like, yep, that's what a cat would do. If a cat had opposing thumbs, that's completely what a cat would do.
You wouldn't even need opposing thumbs, you just knock it out with their head.
I mean, how many people out there, everybody out there who has been owned by a cat, because I will not call you a cat owner, because nobody owns a cat, you're owned by a cat, where you're doing something, you're reading a newspaper, you're on your tablet or whatever, and the cat comes along, sits right down on what you're doing, and looks at you like, you're not paying attention to me. Rectify this.
Yep.
Her whole thing in that scene is completely what a cat would do. I really think she really captured the spirit of the character, and for someone who had never acted before, I'm like, that's impressive. That's going deep into your character, and I really have to give her a lot of credit for that. Mm-hmm. If you get a chance to check it out, the Island of Lost Souls is available on Amazon.
It's supposed to be a Prime thing, according to what I could find online, but when we went to watch it on our online thing attached to our TV, it charged us 99 cents. But you know, it was worth it, yeah. And you can own it for $5.99. It's an interesting little film.
It is.
And one of those that we don't know how. We watched the trailer from the 1977 version, mm-hmm. And I've heard such terrible things about the 96 version that I don't want to even go near it. So anyway, if you like it, give it a shot and check it out on Amazon and see what you think. The Island of Lost Souls from 1932.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
PNRNetwork shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
Sweet home. It looks great. Besides the fact that I have to move to a completely new school and start all over again.
We moved here because St. Alban's has the best neurological department in New York. This house is going to be good for James.
Okay, we do the Rising Stars list every July 4th, or now it'll be every Labor Day starting this year. And we're having issues with something that happened over this weekend. It's one of those things where you look at these Rising Stars and you're thinking, wow, it's time to really get going. Mm-hmm. And then you look at some of the choices they make and you have to wonder, why did you do that?
Yeah, you do.
Amityville: The Awakening has been on the shelf for almost 3 years. Amityville: The Awakening is the latest version of the Amityville horror saga. And this weekend, it came out in 10 theaters for just one day, Saturday. And out of those 10 theaters, its total box office take was a measly $742. Not thousand, just dollars. Mm. Two of the stars of this thing, which has been available for free on Google Play for the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So if you want to see it, you can go over there until November 1st, I think, or November 3rd to see it for free. November 10th to see it for free. Two of the stars of this film are number one rising star female, I think 2013, maybe 2014, I didn't look it up, Bella Thorne, and top 10 rising star from 2010 or 2011, Thomas Mann. Now, they've all gone on to bigger and better things over the years. Bella just came off a big starring role in the MTV series version of Scream last year. Thomas, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and Skull Island, and all these other roles, and now he's got like 3 or 4 other movies about to come out. And I'm like, why did these people get involved with an Amityville movie? Was it because they needed the work? Did they need it so badly that they needed the money? Or really, because I can't see Thomas needing the money at this time, since he's been working steadily pretty much since Fun Size. Everything he hasn't stopped working, either small film, big film, whatever he's doing. Bella's been a little bit more piecemeal, but she's also a model, so she makes money from that.
Yeah. The issue is that you've got agents telling you, well, you need exposure, and horror movies are great for, quick exposure and blah, 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 and all this stuff like that. That's the only thing I can think of, because good grief.
I mean, I try to see practically everything Thomas is in, because I'm just a huge fan of his. I think he's going to be... In 10 or 15 years, he's going to be as reliable as like Gregory Peck and Gary Cooper, Jimmy Stewart playing. Well, he really will.
He has that Jimmy Stewart earnestness about him. That
he can't. You didn't see him in MOREAU.
No, I didn't. No, but Jimmy Stewart played a bad guy in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Another movie I came and saw him in simply because he was in it, and it wasn't. It was better than I gave it credit for when I first saw it. It got under my skin. I just feel really bad because these are two people we've kept a real close eye on. We think they're going to be huge, and I feel badly that this movie is now going to be a little like tomato in their careers.
Yeah, a little rotten tomato.
Thomas has had questionable taste here and there all along. Fun Size not being. It was a hit, and it's funny, and if you haven't seen Fun Size, you should watch it now because it's Halloween. It's a Halloween movie. You definitely should go see it, or pick it up on DVD, or watch it on Amazon or Netflix or wherever you can find it, because you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it.
It was a genuinely funny, stupid teen comedy.
There were elements of sweetness about it, and Osric Chow was in it. Hey, Osric.
Yeah, and she's a big Osric Chow fan because he was on Supernatural.
I am.
And I think. Bella has proved herself more than once. She can do drama, she can do comedy, she's a great model, and I feel bad that they got stuck in this movie. They weren't the only ones. I mean, the movie also had Jennifer Jason Leigh in it, Jennifer Morrison, Cameron Monaghan, a number of other good performers.
A number of people that you sit there and you go, you should have known better.
But anyway,
that happens a lot.
It does. Sometimes you look and you think, hey, I'm sure maybe Thomas was thinking, hey, it'd be really cool to be a part of a horror franchise. Have my name associated with the horror franchise.
Yeah.
Because, Amityville goes back to 1979, and then they've been making bad sequels ever since, or prequels.
Or
the first
reboots.
movie is really terrifying.
Or
I saw it
reboots.
years ago. But the rest of them haven't been.
Oh.
Huh?
I said like reboots, like the one they did with Ryan Reynolds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where they were thinking. I don't know.
I don't know.
So it's one of those little things where we've got a little tarnish on the rising stars. We're gonna have to go out with some brass polish and
not
polish them up.
Not everybody did perfect films. I mean, John Wayne was an amazing, incredible actor and did stuff like True Grit and The Shootist and things like that.
And also was the star of The Conqueror.
Yes.
In which he played Genghis Khan.
Ooh.
And a Roman centurion in the greatest story ever told, and
Yeah.
had the worst possible line reading from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Surely this man is the Son of God.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's not, okay.
Greg Proops could
Nope.
do better. Nope. Anyway, that's just a little rising star update, and let's all hope Thomas and Bella do a little bit better with their next projects. I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I know everybody thinks I'm nuts. The first one I can't stand. The second one was marginally better. And it's just because of that Star-Lord person. Get rid of him and we'll have a great movie. But, like Kim is always pointing out, we are all Groot in some way or another.
Yeah.
So, James Gunn as a person, I don't have a problem with. He's been out there telling people, he warned him about James Toback, a director who's currently got 300 plus sexual harassment accusations hurled at him. And now he's come out and become my favorite person in Hollywood for standing up and finally speaking sense on this controversy that's been going on for about 4 or 5 years that insists on pitting Marvel fans versus DC fans.
Yep.
He went on the air on Twitter the other day and congratulated Zachary Levi, who used to star in Chuck, has been cast as Captain Marvel in the Shazam film.
Yep.
Which you're not really happy with.
I'm
I'm sorry, I can't stand the idea of John Cena taking that role.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around it, but if that's what it is, that's what it is, and
So
I'll
of
have to
course
deal
he
with
brought
it.
up DC and he got slammed by Marvel people.
And when he says Marvel people, you don't mean people from the company. You mean Marvel fans.
Fanboys.
Yeah.
Basement dwellers.
Yep.
And he basically went on tweeted, and this is what he said, and he had it, and this was a series of tweets originally.
Mm-hmm.
This is the whole thing. Quote, every time I mention anything DC, no matter what, my feed becomes an endless screaming match about Batman versus Superman. You guys are never going to convince each other. It's just a bunch of wasted energy. At least when you're screaming at each other about Trump, it's of international importance, but it's a 2-year-old movie that some like and some people don't. Why is someone else's opinion so important to you? As Marvel and DC superfans, you have way more in common with each other than you do with the rest of the world. So why do you spend so much time raging at each other? It's silly. Please just stop it. Stop engaging in that way. But at the very least, when you do, untag me. I've muted a lot of you guys, but not all. Thanks.
Okay.
Now, I'm sorry, but that is just finally.
Yes.
That's the ass kicking that the fanboys need.
I would like to say that
He's a favorite among the fanboys.
Yes. I would actually like to say that I actually have commented back and forth with Mr. Gunn on Twitter a couple of times.
You?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's been nothing but sweet to me. But I want to
Does
say...
he know I don't like his movies?
I haven't said that.
That's good.
I haven't brought that up.
Good, thank you.
So, I'm telling him I like his movies. It's my Twitter.
All right.
So, to Mr. Gunn, I would like to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you so much. And to all the people out there who are like, well, you can only like one company, Marvel or DC or whatever, shut the fork up, sit the fork down, have a Coke and a smile, and leave the rest of us alone. I am a comic fan. I am not a DC fan. I am not a Marvel fan. I am a comic fan. And if you don't like it...
No. Actually, to put it more even more succinctly, you're a superhero film fan.
Yeah.
Because you don't read comics, occasionally you read graphic novels, but you're familiar with them and you like the movie adaptations.
Yeah, I'm more of a classic
superhero film
I'm more of a
fan.
classic comic fan, to be honest with you.
Me too.
You know, and if you don't like it, too bad. And if you try and make me be like, well, you have to like Marvel or you have to like DC, or if you like one, you can't like the other, I will tell you to your face to shut the frog up.
I think some of the things, pulling up Deadline's coverage of this, the comments are hysterical in some ways. One person says, translation, hey DC, I wouldn't mind having a crack at Green Lantern Corps. You brought Joss over, so why not grab the gun?
That's not what he said. You're a dumbass. And that doesn't need translation.
I agree with Mr. Gunn here. It's getting way too irritating about MCU versus DCEU. There's more important things like Star Trek versus Star Wars. Facepalm or just gigantic sigh. Okay.
Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph, what is wrong with you people?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Never understood the rivalry between the two. Way too many things going on in the world to be arguing about whose movie is better. It's nice to be able to like superheroes for being super and not for what logo was attached to their title. That's where we're coming from.
I have brought this...
I have a thing about... I admit, I like both. I was always a DC fan growing up. But I like the characters from both universes, and I enjoy the movies from both universes. But I would prefer that they stop swapping actors, because it gets very confusing. Stick with either DC or Marvel, and it makes it much easier. That's my own personal opinion, though.
All right. I understand what you're saying, and that's fine. And also, I apologize to anybody of faith out there if I just offended you by my absolute anger at this ridiculousness. I have brought this up on Platinum Roses Garden several times. If you'd like to hear it, go to PlatinumRosesGarden.com and listen to my stuff. I don't know when this nonsense started, but if somebody could build me a time machine so I could go back to the moment when it did start and stomp the hell out of it, I would be so damn happy. When did we get to this point where if you are a fan of, let's say, you're a fan of Star Trek.
I'm a fan of Star Trek.
I have never heard anybody be like, well, if you're a Kirk fan, you can't be a Spock fan. Or the other way.
No. Now you're getting into the supernatural, Sam versus Dean stuff. We don't talk about that on this show.
But my point
We don't talk about that on this show.
But my point is that there are people who are like, well, if you're a Star Trek fan, you can't be a Star Wars fan.
Wrong. I'm a Star Wars fan too. I'm just not a fanatic.
And the other way around.
I am I admit to being a Trekker, but I'm not a Warsy.
When did this whole if you like X, you can't like Y stuff start? When? And more to the point, when in the blue hell is it going to go away? I hate this.
I could answer that, but I don't want to turn off our listeners, and I could give you a direct answer to that, but I don't want to get on record as saying what I was going to say.
I'm sorry, you're going to get mad at me, and I'm going to get a family show thrown at me. I don't care. I hate this shit.
Family show.
I hate it. I don't know when it started, but man, I wish it would go away.
I know, I do too.
But
it's not likely to anytime soon, although things are changing. Things are changing. Not among the fandom, but among the creators of the product. Because Harvey Weinstein. Everything is changing in Hollywood. So there's all kinds of... We'll talk about something in a few minutes about that, too. A different aspect of it. And it's, going to be out there.
It's hard enough to be a comic / anime / cartoon / superhero fan anyway, because the rest of the world looks at us as that we're like antisocial weirdos. I'm not even going to get in to how difficult it is to be a female and be a fan of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
rightfully so.
But you know why people have that negative opinion of us? Because of, I won't use the word.
Snit.
Because of snitheads like that. People that are like, well, you have to only like one thing and, you're really saying you want to do this. No, they're not. and you can like one thing, and you can like the other thing, and that doesn't make you any less of a fan of either thing. Shut up, grow up, cowboy up, and just knock it the fork off. And kudos to James Gunn. Dude, yes. You're awesome. You ever come to Boston, first beer's on me, bruh.
Alrighty.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
Coming to you today to talk to you about what's on everybody's mind. I told everybody a few days ago that I had a plan to try and hopefully bring to light what is happening in the world of entertainment as far as perverts and pedophiles and all of the topics of what we've been discussing. Ever since I even discussed the fact that I had this plan, my life has turned into utter chaos. You can probably tell by the sound of my voice. It's pretty ripped up because of the devastation of what I've been through the past few days. I've experienced things like never before. I mean, I've been silenced my whole life, but just over the past few days since I made that announcement, I've been arrested. I had a near-death experience last night where I felt like I was almost going to be killed. 2 trucks came speeding at me at the same time.
This is a little bit of an unusual version of Crowdfunders that we've done because of its subject matter, but I think it needs to be brought to the forefront. There have been all these things that have been talking about sexual harassment this and sexual harassment that with Harvey Weinstein, James Toback, a number of guys involved, Harry Knowles, a number of guys involved with the internet. But which is
important.
It is. But we haven't touched the surface of the other thing, which has been kind of bouncing around for at least a decade. And every time it comes up, it gets squashed. And this time I don't think it will. And the one person who has the knowledge is actually finally stepping up and saying he's going to name names. And I'm willing to help him. Corey Feldman has posted a Indiegogo account. He is trying to make $10 million for what he calls his Truth campaign. Corey is planning to make a documentary about his career and name names about a pedophilia ring or basically a rampant pedophile blind spot that Hollywood has. Yes. He's blamed Corey Haim's death on this. He's done a number of things over the years. And he is now actually in an interview the other day come out and says he believes that since he said something a couple of days ago about this, since he launched his campaign, he honestly believes his life is in danger. Mm-hmm. That's terrifying to me because Corey has he's always talked about it, but he's never named names because of legal reasons. He said, if I did this, they'd come after me because the statute of limitations is over and I won't have any protection. And he's been slammed when he's done it. Barbara Walters shut him down on The View a couple years ago, and now she's being rightfully called out for doing so. Everything about this campaign is important. I have always believed Corey. If you want to find out why, read his book, Choreography from 2014. Read that book. It will freaking terrify you. And I mean, the things he went through as a child actor, I can't even get into. And I feel bad that, because of that, he got into drugs. He got into all these things. The truth is, he's had his life up and downs. But he's been stable for about 20 years now. He's married for a second time. He had a band. His band members quit because of all the stuff that's going on. They're worried about their well-being, being around him. This is an important thing. The last time this popped up, which was right around the time Corey's book came out, 2 or 3 other people had filed lawsuits against a number of producers, and they eventually got, again, shut down.
Yeah.
For lack of proof, which is why I don't understand why a lot of the ladies coming out about the sexual harassment stuff aren't getting shut down for the same reason, because a lot of them, it's just hearsay. Right now, they don't have proof. Not that I don't believe them. Most of them I do. I mean, I believe probably all of them. But they don't, that statute of limitations thing has to apply to both sides. But in any case, this is important, and I'm going to have a link to Corey's site on our show notes. He's nowhere near the money right now, but in just 4 days, he's already earned almost $160 million of the $10 million, $160,000 of the $10 million he's asking for. And it is a flexible campaign. Whatever he gets, he'll get to keep and put toward that movie. So please, think about this. This needs to get brought out into the open. It needs to be stopped and we need to hear about the things that destroy children's lives who are professionals.
Yeah.
I worry especially because we take a great interest in the younger stars.
We take interest in watching their careers grow and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I mean. We watch their careers. We promote their careers. And I don't want to see anything happen to those people, the people that we have pushed incessantly on this show, or continue to always bring up people like Theo Taplitz, Michael Barbieri, Gabe
Nevins, and
Gabe was already too late. Oaks Fegley, and a number, all these younger stars. Yeah. For Pete's sake, we need to help protect those, and this is what's going to do that.
Yeah. Speaking as somebody that's seen everyone's seen all of the terrible things that came out in the Catholic Church about all of the sex abuse and the scandal and the cover-ups and stuff like that. Being from this area, we've both watched on the news and stuff like that about the lives that were destroyed by people in power, abusing that power and abusing children who were supposed to be in their care. Now, agents and things like that obviously don't have that same deep emotional tie as someone's clergy would have to them.
Just this last week, another couple of agencies lost clients, like Fenn Wolfhard of Stranger Things, because of allegations coming out against their agents.
Right.
So,
but my point being that these are still people that are in positions of trust who should be looking out for the best interest of these young people, and they don't. And that's awful.
Yeah,
that's just terrible. And if this is something that, if this movie gets done and it gets attention focused on, this is something that needs to be put out in the light and exposed, and people need to see this now.
We'll talk more about this next week probably, because Corey is due to be on the Today Show twice on Monday. He'll talk with both Matt Lauer in the 8 o'clock hour and Megyn Kelly in the 9 o'clock hour, and we're going to be, hopefully, hear him talking more frankly, although I'm still doubting he'll actually name names yet, because he's not protected. And I can't say that I blame him, because that's that'll cost him a fortune if he gets sued by some of these people he's ready to name.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get out there. Let's show him that we're standing with him and trying to get the truth and helping him get the truth out in Hollywood about the pedophiles as much as we have about the sexual harassment stuff. Get out there, donate to his movie. The show notes, the link will be in the show notes, and keep tuned to Subject Cinema in future weeks, because we are going to continue to cover the story.
Instigate the extractor protocol!
Radio, Doc.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Behold, my evil extractor! You're trying to overwhelm the machine with the eagle. Shut it down! Harvey, look out!
It's a double cross. All signs pointing to
Two-Face.
We're headed back in time to the old Gotham City of the 1960s as we take on Batman versus Two-Face, the final performance from our beloved Batman of the 1960s, the late Adam West, who passed away earlier this year. Give us the rundown.
Batman versus Two-Face is the story of Batman and Robin and the dealings with a really tragic character in the Batman Rogues Gallery, Harvey Dent, who is actually a friend of Bruce Wayne and also the district attorney with a really high conviction rate. Batman catches the crooks and he's the one that puts them in jail. No Arkham Asylum in this series. It turns out that a certain professor named Hugo Strange believes that good and evil can be extracted from human beings and has created an evil extractor.
Of course he has.
Of course he has, because science. To try to rehabilitate criminals. Who here thinks this is going to work? Show of hands.
No.
It didn't think so. To that end, Dr. Strange, no, not that Dr. Strange, has the 5 criminals, the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Egghead, and Mr. Freeze, brought to a certain part of the Gotham Penitentiary where they're going to be experimented on and used as examples for this evil extractor and, show them that this can be drawn out of people. And from the look of it, it actually seems to be sort of working. But stuff goes wrong and the machine explodes and Harvey Dent is exposed to the concentrated evil from these criminals and half of his body is hideously deformed and his mind goes along with it and he becomes the criminal Two-Face. Now this is all before the opening credits.
Yeah.
During the opening credits, we see all of these duel-based crimes that Two-Face commits during his first rampage, being caught eventually by the dynamic duo. And he is taken off to be rehabilitated and to have plastic surgery to fix his damaged face. And it actually works. He is cured of his mental illness, it seems like. And his face is back to normal. And he is given a job again in the judicial system as the assistant to the assistant district attorney. I don't know where on the pecking order that is, but I think it's relatively low.
Yeah.
But the problem is, once Harvey gets out of jail and is supposedly back in good society, all of a sudden Two-Face seems to emerge along with other criminals committing duel-based crimes, and the fact that, as we said, Two-Face seems to be running around again, including a scene where we see Harvey on the phone with Two-Face, which doesn't seem possible. And it's got the dynamic duo pretty stymied, considering the fact that things are a little bit tense between Batman and Robin, because Robin is a little jealous of the fact that Bruce Wayne is such good friends with Harvey Dent. And
it doesn't help that Harvey treats him like crap.
Yeah, Harvey's a bit of a smug, condescending, Don Draper-esque jerk. Sorry.
Anyway, we don't want to go too far.
Sorry, I calls him like I sees him. And when all of the duel-based crimes start happening again, Robin is convinced that Two-Face has come back and Batman is trying to cling to the idea that this is somebody trying to frame Harvey and that his friend is truly cured. So the bonds of friendship are getting tested all over the damn place. You also have Catwoman lurking about, still carrying an Olympic-sized torch for the Caped Crusader, and said affection being returned on Batman's part. Conflict of interest, anybody? And
no.
It all culminates in a completely insane battle at the end of the film, and it's just everywhere. It's just bat-tastic.
With Adam West as Bruce Wayne and Batman, Burt Ward as Dick Grayson and Robin, William Shatner stepping into the role of Harvey Dent and Toothpaste, Julie Newmar as Catwoman, Steven Weber as Alfred J. Mord as Commissioner Gordon and Hugo Strange, Thomas Lennon as Chief O'Hara, Lynn Marie Stewart as Aunt Harriet, Jeff Bergman as Joker, Bookworm, and Desmond Dumas, Wally Winger as Riddler and King Tut, William Salyers as the Penguin, Serena Irwin as Dr. Harleen Quinzel. I'll go into that in a minute. Maurice LaMarche as Egghead, and Lee Merriweather in a cameo as Lucille Diamond, the district attorney, one of them.
I think she's a defense attorney.
Defense
actually.
attorney.
Yeah,
sorry.
she's a defense attorney.
So, what did you think?
I loved it. I really did. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The voice cast was just to the amazing. It was so good. It was also kind of difficult. It was kind of difficult. This is the first time I've actually heard Adam's voice again since he passed away, and it hurt. You know, there was a little.
It didn't seem like it.
There was a little squeeze to my heart.
Got a little verklempt, did you?
I got a little verklempt. I did. You know, it's you never forget your first, and Batman, your first Batman.
I say clarify that.
That
please.
Came out all wrong, or did it? It was really beautiful to. All right, I'm getting glared at. It was really beautiful to hear his voice again. It was really, really sweet. There's a nice. We won't say what happens at the end, but there's a very nice tribute to Adam, 2-part tribute actually, which actually did kind of tear me up.
Yeah.
The cast, like I said, it sounded like they were having so much fun. I liked the story. The story did kind of. I was like, okay, wait, that happened, but wait, hold on. What?
I have two big problems with the story, but it's okay.
By the end of it, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I got it. I thought it all fit together really well, and I was like, damn, that was a good story. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the living hell out of it, and It sounds odd to say it, and it sounds odd to say it like this. I really hope they can do more of these.
I do too. I think that they should take the time to think about it, because I think Adam would want them to continue, because they have been successful. We have an adequate person, if they can get him to do it, to do Adam's style voice, Nicolas Cage, who has already proved that he did it in Kick-Ass. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be a way to go.
Yeah.
I have two big problems with this story.
Okay.
And they're not really overall encompassing. I loved the story. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and it always is. I wish they had done it in the theaters this time.
Me too.
We had so much fun last year when we saw the one Return of the Cape Crusaders last year in the theater. Fathom didn't do it this year, and I don't know why, but it would have been a lot of fun. My first big one is there's a huge hole in the plot line with the stuff with Robin in the middle of it, because we see two people who can't be two people on screen for several seconds at the same time. Not possible, given the resolution later in the film. Now, other than that, the other thing that bothers me is the presence of Dr. Quinzel. At the time that these were made, Harley Quinn wasn't even a glimmer in the eye of the person who created her, because he wasn't even born yet. Okay. So, I mean, this is, she fits in the Batman universe, but I don't think she has any place in these specials, which are based on the Batman 66 comic books. Right. And I don't really think that they deserve, I think that they should keep her out of things.
See, I liked that.
Well, it was a nice nod, but she really doesn't have any place. If they're going basic on the comic, on the original television series, there was no way she could have been a participant in that.
Well, if they were going by the original television series to the letter,
yeah.
There were a couple of other things then that were wrong, including the fact that they were using the mannerisms of the 66 Commissioner Gordon, but they had him looking like the Commissioner Gordon in the comics with the mustache and the whole thing.
But he looked kind of vaguely like Neil Hamilton.
And they also didn't have Alfred wearing glasses.
Yeah, that was something we pointed out.
That was like,
and Harriet's a little too smart in these.
Well,
like she was in the comics. More so than the TV show.
I liked the fact that they did the whole Harleen Quinzel thing, and I liked the fact that Joker gave her a wink, because that's how their original story started, and I was like, oh, I see what you did there. That was nice. I also liked the fact, and I mentioned this to you, the whole thing when Batman's still trying to believe that Harvey hasn't fallen back into his criminal ways, and he uses the line, "I believe in Harvey Dent," which is from the Nolan verse, The Dark Knight. I was like, oh, that's cute. You guys are smart.
Overall, what do you give it?
I give it an A-. I
give it a B+ because I was a little irritated with a couple of the plot lines.
And just real quick, I want to say, like I said, voice cast was totally amazing. Wally Wingert, oh my gosh. Wally Wingert voiced both the Riddler and King Tut. Mm-hmm. Good grief, dude. You are scary good. Yeah,
he was. He had both of them. Although, again, we said he had Victor Buono's voice, but they didn't particularly use his persona.
You don't think so?
You didn't. We both said that we didn't think that the character looked much like him in the cartoon. It
wasn't drawn like him as much. No.
But Bookworm was.
Yeah.
And that guy, whoever did Bookworm's voice, was it?
Jeff Bergman.
Did a great job with the Roddy McDowell sound-alike. So that was...
Everybody was just so awesome.
We do hope that they continue to make these. Hopefully Bert will be willing to do them, and Julie and Lee Merriweather and anyone else associated with the original, as well as those people who do a great job of doing the voiceover sound-alikes.
And gotta send a definite shout-out to Bill Shatner, because he really threw himself body and soul into
Although
this.
you notice they made him look like the Star Trek animated Kirk.
I totally wasn't going to bring that up, but I'm like, he
and he
totally
did get to Shatner at least once.
We caught one Shatnering, but he totally looked like the Filmation version of Captain Kirk, and we're like, totally. Hey! Yes, that was awesome.
Batman vs. Two-Face is on demand, and you can both rent it and buy it now. It's highly worth recommending.
Totally check it out.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at ecinema1.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service. Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video-on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning, from Subject Cinema and ecinema1.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Heading back to Deep 13 and the classic episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, on this week's edition of the 13 Report, wanted to do one last great scary film. Scary. Scary, she says, from them. And Kim picked the one that I just really never have enjoyed this one. The Screaming Skull. That is as a mic, isn't it?
Yes, it is a mic.
And it's, okay, well, just give us the basic plot line.
Okay. The Screaming Skull tells...
Ah!
You done?
Yeah, for that one.
Okay. First of all, this film opens with something rather interesting. It opens with the warning that this film is so frightening that it might kill you. This film is so damn scary you might die of fright. And if that happens, the Screaming Skull will provide you or your relatives with a free casket to bury you in. Isn't that nice? I don't know what
And it's not, and by the way, just for the record, it's not a William Castle film.
No. I don't know what they would have done if you're the type that wants a Viking funeral, though. Are they going to provide the flamethrower? I don't know. Anyway, the story of the Screaming Skull, Good grief, you're annoying.
Every time you say those two words, that's going to happen.
The plot of said movie is newlyweds Eric and Jenny returning to their home after being married, and they are newlyweds, and they are so terribly in love. This is his second time on the marriage go-round, because the first time ended with his first wife croaking. Jenny is a, nice young lady who's a little on the twitchy side. We find out that she has actually spent time in a sanitarium, because she was, had a bit of a breakdown after her parents drowned, which was something that she saw. So, she blames herself for her parents drowning because she hated her mother, and so on and so forth, wished her dead, and then her parents go to visit Davy Jones's locker, and the cheese slipped off her cracker, and she got sent off to the Laughing Academy. At some point in there, she met Eric afterwards, I don't know, and they fell in love and got married, and they came back to Eric's home, which was actually his first wife's home. His first wife, her name was Marion. The house doesn't have a phone. It doesn't have furniture. It doesn't have lights. It's a big, empty, scary-looking house that pretty much looks like you could have a big sign out front that says, "Haunt me!" They are met by some of the locals, including the good Reverend Snow and his wife, Mrs. Reverend Snow. Reverend Mrs. Snow?
Reverend Mrs. Snow.
Reverend Mrs. Snow.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm Catholic. We don't have reverends with wives. And also the groundskeeper, a rather sketchy looking fellow named Mickey, who is, while he's a bit on the creepy looking side, is actually quite a nice person, just very, very shy. He was very devoted to Eric's wife, the first wife, Marion. He grew up with her. Stuff starts going wrong pretty damn quickly. Reverend Snow winds up telling Jenny what happened to Marion, which was the fact that she slipped, hit her head, fell in the pool, and drowned. Yeah, because that's what somebody who was in a sanitarium because their parents snuffed it by drowning really needs to hear. So as the film goes on, Jenny keeps getting wound tighter and tighter by strange things that keep happening around the house. There is all these weird noises, knocking, screaming sounds, doors banging, crying.
And of course,
a screaming skull. The one piece of furniture in the house is this enormous painting. I don't know if a painting would count as furniture. Decor, I suppose.
Referred to by Tom Servo as Van Gogh's Howdy.
Which he has a point about it.
He does.
It's disturbingly accurate.
It is.
It looks like Minnie Pearl.
It does look like Minnie Pearl. Anyway.
It was a portrait of Marion. Now, is all of this stuff really happening? Is Jenny going back to being insane? Or is somebody trying to drive her there for nefarious purposes?
With John Hudson as Eric, Peggy Weber as Jenny, Russ Conway as Reverend Snow, Tony Johnson as Reverend Mrs. Snow, and Alex Nichol as Mickey.
Yes.
This is not one of my favorite Misties. I'm just not really a big... It's not because I don't like the Misty part, I do. It's just that the movie just bores me to tears. It really does.
Okay.
I don't find it very scary, do you?
Well, I think it's really interesting that it goes from being a mystery story to, this is a ghost story. Oh, crap. It's like, all right. I don't think it's terribly frightening. I like it, though. I think it's a good story. I like the ending because the bad guy gets what's coming to them.
Yeah.
The Screaming Skull is also actually one of those rarities in Mystery Science Theater 3000 in the fact that we had a short with it. This is the short that was with the Screaming Skull is the short Robot Rumpus, which is a Gumby short about robots running amok, which has an ending that extremely upsets Tom and Crow because they are robots, and if I was a robot, that ending would upset me too. The segments for the show are thusly. The first segment is Tom, who has decided that he has become a butterfly, because why not? If we can have if we can have Iron Butterfly, we can have Robot Butterfly, whatever. Segment 1, Tom is not a butterfly anymore, but he feels like he is a beautiful butterfly inside, which is nice. The Mads of this season, which are Pearl, Brain Guy, and Bobo,
this is from the sci-fi era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Try and pull a practical joke on Mike and the Bots that doesn't work out terribly well for them. Segment 2 is Tom and Crow working on a Gumby short to answer the Gumby short that we saw at the beginning. That ends with a lot of tears and screaming, which, again, I don't entirely blame them for, to be honest with you. Segment 3 goes back to the beginning of the film about the whole "if you die, we'll get you a coffin,"
right?
With Tom and Crow trying to scam the people that made the movie because they want to get a free coffin. Okay. What two non-living mechanical beings are going to do with a coffin? Your guess is as good as mine.
No, I don't know either.
And I'd frankly rather not go there. Segment number 4 involves Crow making himself up to look like a screaming skull. To play a practical joke on Mike. It doesn't exactly end happily for Crow. It involves a golf club. And let's be honest, nothing really ever ends happily that involves a golf club unless you're on a golf course.
And you make a hole-in-one.
Yeah. Segment 5 involves Tom's coffin showing up, and he realizes he has to pay for shipping the coffin. Let's remember they're on a satellite.
Yeah.
So, and he's also maxed out Mike's credit card. Mm-hmm. That's so Tom. Da-na-na-na.
Why does Mike need a credit card? He's trapped on a satellite.
Well, you know. Bobo tries to pull a trick on Mike along the same lines and gets shrunk down to being teeny-sized by Brain Guy. I like this one. I'm sorry. I know you don't, but I do. I think it's funny. I like the story. I love the segments.
I like the segments fine. But even the star of the film didn't like it. Ms. Weber, who played the crazy
Jenny,
is that right? That's right.
Yeah.
The right person.
Yeah.
Said about the film, it didn't impress me, and that she, quote, wanted to throw up after watching it.
Did you get paid? Then shut up.
The director, Alex Nichol, who was an actor for directing for the first time, thought it was better. I liked it. It had some nice dolly shots, a good atmosphere, so I was happy with that. It was a nice change from the films I'd been doing. Most people give it terrible ratings. Bill Corbett didn't like the Gumby short, saying that making someone watch this even once is specifically outlawed by the Geneva Convention. I'm not sure whether he refers to Gumby or to the Screaming Skull, because it's not really made clear on the Wikipedia.
I don't know.
It does have the Van Gogh's howdy remark, yes. And it does have the Uncle Lady reference, which we've used quite a bit in years.
In real life, yeah.
Since then. Unfortunately, we're kind of nasty that way. If you've never seen it, it's of course part of the original show, and you could probably seek it out. Shoutfactory.com has them. I'm not sure. I don't believe Netflix has it yet, as of yet, because it is a sci-fi one, and those are not on Netflix, so it'd be interesting. But definitely check it out if you get a chance. The original film, not so much. The Screaming Skull, this week's 13 Report movie.
Calling all stations. Clear the air lanes. Clear all air lanes for the big broadcast.
Saving the one that's around now for last. Oh, yes, he is a great one, isn't he? Our very own, well, not our very own, but part of our hostess with the mostest this week, the inimitable SVENGOOLIE.
Yes.
Sven has been around in the original form since 1970-something, 1960-something. Let me see. And that was originally Jerry Bishop.
Yes.
And he was on from 1970 to 1973. 1979, Rich Coase took over the role, originally known as son of SVENGOOLIE.
Yes.
And then became SVENGOOLIE straight in 19, let's see.
The show
1994. I had to look that up real quick.
The show came back in 1979, and Rich was the son of SVENGOOLIE.
Right.
And then eventually they...
95, Bishop told him he was all grown up and could drop the son of from the character name.
Yeah.
So Rich has been playing the character for 22 years.
Yes.
22 years now. And he's, of course, now, since 2011, has been available. It doesn't seem like he's been on that long.
No.
So
have we gotten
yeah.
TV since 2011?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since 2011, he's been a part of MeTV.
Yes.
Which is a Chicago-based over-the-air network of classic TV, and he's their biggest, highest-rated show. They just moved him up this fall from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes.
Here, he'd been... The reason they did that is because a lot of the news... a lot of the affiliates were preempting the show or starting it late because of their 10 o'clock news. So they thought, we'll just move it to 8 o'clock, which is proven... I mean, it's continuing to do well.
Yeah, considering when we first started to get Sven, it was on from 10 to midnight.
Right.
Then they moved it to 11 to 1.
Here they moved it to 11 to 1 because it was taped delayed because it was still on 10 to midnight on the MeTV feed.
Right.
But they delayed it an hour because of the local 10 o'clock news, and then they dumped whatever else was on in that slot and put Get Smart on.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and people around
at least
here
that fit with the show. But
and people around here were like, "What the beep?
Yeah.
Get our show back on at a decent time." So we decided we were going to check out Sven, and we decided, well, we're probably going to, we'll check it out and see what we think.
Well, he's been highly recommended to us by our loyal listeners, Monica and Johnny Swanson, who were both Chicago natives and had seen him quite often every week on TV.
So we watched it, and we watched one of his shows, and 5 minutes in, I looked at TC, and I said, I'm hooked.
We're hooked.
I was like, I'm hooked. How about you?
Despite
and he was like,
his
yep.
terrible jokes, we're hooked.
I'm hooked because of his terrible jokes. Sven is one of the funniest dudes I've ever seen. The character of Sven is obviously, that's Rich, and he does pretty much everything on his show. He's the producer, he's the writer, does a lot of the voice work. He's king of the world, you win. He is a very busy guy.
He has a few associates. Doug Graves, played by Doug Scharf, is his piano player for the karaoke segments every week.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's Paul Schaefer to Sven's Dave.
Yeah. And then he has Zalman T. Tombstone, disembodied skull, that, according to Wikipedia, was based on... do you remember Raymond J. Johnson Jr.?
You can
Bill
call
Saluga?
me Ray, but you can...
Yeah.
That I remember that a little bit.
Yeah, he was based on that. And, of course, Kerwin is there every week to help him read viewer mail and stuff.
Yeah, Kerwin, who is a talking rubber chicken because, of course, he is.
Sven has just been outlandishly funny the years we've been watching him. And I wish... Rich had a bad health scare a couple years ago. He had a pretty bad heart attack and had to curtail a lot of his activity. More recently, they've been, since the last couple years, they've had mostly Universal films on, but they do dip into other things occasionally, like Godzilla films.
Yes, we had a month of Godzilla films, which had me dancing on the ceiling. That was a sight.
They also have a lot of the early Universal films from the Inner Sanctum, which all starred Lon Chaney Jr. Those are only an hour long, so the shows are really padded out those weeks with Sven's Around, which is his version of Sense Around, where they do comments, and then also SVENGOOLIE on the road and stuff.
When they do the Sense Around stuff, it's oftentimes the Commander Cody the serials that they did way back in the day.
Yeah.
And those are funny, if painful. We do get Sven on the road, which is Sven going to conventions or places around Chicago. And it's really fun watching him interact with not only the fans, but some pretty famous folks. I mean,
a lot of them wrestlers.
Yeah, he's had...
he's a huge wrestling fan, and he has friends with a lot of them.
Veteran wrestler and artist and all-around pretty neat dude, Jerry the King Lawler on. Lisa Varon, who wrestled under the name Victoria in WWE, and Tara in TNA.
She was just on.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's had horror icons on, like Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund.
Yep.
Just
recently, he spent a good deal of time with Gilbert Gottfried, which was kind of funny.
Yes, it was actually very funny for a change.
Yeah, I like Gilbert.
I know.
You have to be like in the mood, but he's quite funny.
I love Rich's humor. For one thing, the reason I love Rich's humor so much is it's not mean. I don't find his humor to have...
It's just lame. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Bless your heart.
The same way that Mystery Science Theater 3000 is lame.
Yeah.
In its own way.
Rich's humor is very goofy, and I like that. You know, it's like not everything with horror doesn't have to be all serious, and goodness knows, his stuff is definitely years away from all the torture porn stuff that's in theaters now that passes as horror.
Yeah.
You know, he shows the classic films, and he does it with a wink and a smile. I love his set.
They just moved to a new set, and they just redid everything.
Yeah, including a banging new coffin.
The coffin is 3 years old now, but they got the original coffin is now in the museum, Broadcasting Museum in Chicago.
Very
cool. The new coffin was actually donated by fans.
Yeah.
Who made it for him, and it's beautiful. But the set, they just redid their entire set, gave them a permanent soundstage. That's how confident MeTV is in his show. So there you go. They don't have to take it down and put it up every week. It's always there.
Yeah.
Which is good.
It's fantastic.
It's so much fun to watch it. And always at the end of the show, don't forget to check out the little thing at the blurb right underneath the copyright, because it's always hilarious.
The other thing that's so much fun about his show
it's like Chuck What's-His-Name's title cards.
Yeah, but it's not 8 miles long and full of a lot of self-serving, ego-boosting stuff.
True.
When you watch Sven week to week, definitely check out the knickknacks and tchotchkes and stuff like that around him, because they often have something to do with the show that week. He'll have little pop figurines and other figurines of the monster from the show that week, which is fantastic.
You also might see his old coffin in places, because at times they do just a new opening and closing, and then we'll switch out some of the earlier segments if it's one of these that they've got a lot of segments for. And he's open about that usually in the opening. He said, "You'll see the coffin." Blah, blah, blah. But I think that's a lot of fun. I would love to meet Rich. He seems like a really cool dude.
I would too.
And he also, he doesn't do just that. He also does radio on a regular basis. He hosts other programs. He hosts the Three Stooges show on WCIU every week, and continues to be the consistent winner of the best horror host from the Hatton Classic Horror Awards almost every year, because he's one of the few left that's national.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of the best.
Yeah, SVENGOOLIE every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern now on MeTV. You can also see him on local cable and local time slots in Chicago area.
Yep.
So keep your eyes open, and you never know when you might, if it were me, him in a dark alley, I don't think I'd be terribly afraid.
No, I don't either. But watch out for flying rubber chickens.
Yes. Honey, I'm sorry. That's going to have to do it for Halloween this year. I know. I'm sorry. Next year, we'll have lots more fun. And coming up, starting next week, it's the movie menu, as Subject Cinema spends the entire month of November discussing foodie films.
Yep.
This is what we were supposed to do during the summer that we didn't get a chance to do as a replacement for Front Row 5 and 10 over the summer. We're going to talk about, long analysis of some food movies. We're going to talk about other ones just generally, and about some documentaries that you might like about food. And it's all because of Thanksgiving.
Yep. This is going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you will check out our next next month. And we hope you check us out all the time.
Yep.
And we also hope you will check out our shows that we do that are a part of our little family here on Subject Cinema. And that would include TC's show, Catastrophe Vortex, which he does every other week.
Supposedly, I was a week late this time, but I will be back every other week with the latest disaster movies, plus TV shows, songs, and other stuff, all revolving around disasters, because I'm a disaster movie junkie. I'm a disaster junkie. I read about historical stuff, too. And I hope you'll like it. It's at CatastropheVortex.com, and it's every other Wednesday. And Platinum Rose's Garden is back on the air for you. If you are subscribed to Platinum Rose's Garden on iTunes, you will need to research it and resubscribe, because Kim, in her infinite wisdom this summer, did not do the summer show she was supposed to, and she got dropped. So we had to redo her feed. So she has a new feed over there. But if you enjoy that, I will have it up on her site. I haven't got it up on the site yet either. And hopefully you'll be able to just go over and search Platinum Rose's Garden and then subscribe. And one thing we've got to say to everybody, no matter which show you're listening to, Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, the shorter shows, the week shows, our other friends, Cave Babble and Comic Grotto, when you are listening, go to the website, like it, retweet it, Facebook it, and over on YouTube, like it and subscribe it. Please do this, because this helps us get the word out. It takes you 2 seconds, and we would really appreciate it if you could go ahead and do that. Everywhere you listen to it, we're available on our website, on the various websites we are part of, SoundCloud, YouTube, Libsyn itself, and a few other places. Do it for every site, because it will help the word get out there.
My show this week, Platinum Rose's Garden, my Supernatural podcast, is actually a double-header show.
Because she missed last week because she was sick.
I wasn't feeling well last week. So this week I am back with 2 episode reviews.
Two shows in
one.
For
it's episodes 2 and 3 of season 13.
Remember where that comes from? Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com. Sorry, I'm interrupting
2 episodes from season 13, The Rising Sun and Patience. And I hope you guys will come and check out my show.
Do you get an Axel sweat during Patience?
No, I didn't do it. Sorry. Great song, one of Axel's best. Axel, if you're out there, call me. And there's also our other members of our wacky family here, and those would include the Lion family, with Cave Babble, Eric and Valerie and their kids and grandkids and whoever else they can pull in to come be part of their show.
And Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee Wee. They are done for the season, but we'll be back with brand new shows in January. And Anthony is continuing to blog on their blog, which is all about comics and everything else, and that can be found at comicgrotto.com. Don't forget to check out our midweek shows as well. Front Row 5 and 10, our list show on Thursdays. 3-Minute Weekend on Friday, all the new films coming to your local multiplexes and art houses. And Tuesday, Digidex, all the new stuff coming to on-demand and home video. So we hope you'll check those out. All of those 3 are available at ecinema1.com. Also check out our Boston stuff at eCinemaBoston.com. And don't forget, we always want you to subscribe to Twitter and Facebook. Her tweet is Platinum Roselle.
Yep, at twitter.com.
Is that right? Platinum Roselle or Platinum Rose Lady?
Platinum Roselle.
And mine is eCinema1 and eCinema Boston TC. And you can find our Facebook still at Popcorn and Roses.
Yep. And I think that's about it.
I think it's about it too, but I think it's enough. And we're going to get on out of here as we head off. Oh, look. There's Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman just in time for Halloween.
Hey guys, you got my invite. Woohoo!
For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you in November, folks, and foodies galore.
Happy Halloween!
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.